Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about how to use and build Vincent. Vincent is in these three factions: Meteor, Empire, and Dark faction. I want to compare both level 70 max stats classes. So first we have Emerald Wing Commander. This is a flyer class, and Dark God's Wings is a demon class. If you look closely to the stats, they are almost exactly the same, except that Dark God is a demon class, has better stats, and that's how the game works. Demon is probably the strongest in the game, however they get countered really hard by Holy. If you only do PvE content, Demon should be the one you go to because with higher stats and you don't really fight against any Holy units. However, if you do play PvP, I would say the flyer class would be better because there's so many strong Holy units in PvP right now. This character is basically a terrorist. He's a human bomb. His role, well, in PvE is different. In PvE you play him just like any flyer demon character that deals physical damage, but in PvP he needs to suicide. When he's suicide, that's what makes him scary. When he's alive, he deals AoE damage. When he dies, he also deals AoE damage. So if he can deal rapid attacks within the same turn, there's no chance for the healer to heal. Talent, Wings of Destruction. For every block moved, AoE damage plus 2, 3, 4, 6% at 6 stars, up to 10, 15, 20, and 30% at 6 stars. When this hero dies, deal 0.3 times AoE damage to all enemies within 3 blocks. So this sounds very basic and straightforward, but here's the thing, you guys have to know this if you're using Vincent. So this say for every block moved, we're looking at 6 stars here, up to 30% max, which means all you need to do is move 5 blocks. 5 blocks times 5 times 6 is 30%. So if you move 5 blocks, you're going to deal maximum AoE damage. However, when this hero dies, you don't benefit from the 30% if you get killed. What I mean by that is, okay, you use your AoE damage, now is your opponent's turn, and they kill you. And then now you deal your 0.3 times AoE damage. However, that one does not apply to your movement talent percentage. So the only way when he dies and get that block moved AoE damage increase is when you attack the enemy and you die. So if you kill yourself, okay. If they kill you, you're only dealing 0.3 times AoE damage, no multiplier. Bonding requirement. The first 3 bond is usually straightforward. You just need to clear some missions. So let's look at the 4th one here. You will need Elusia to unlock. So if you don't have Elusia, lose out on the defensive stats, but for Vincent it's okay because he does want to kill himself. He's a suicidal bomb. And the 5th one is very important because that's the attack increase stats. So you need Kruger's help to do that. So make sure if you're planning to use him, make sure you get the Evil God. Now I'm going to talk about his skills. I think they can be a little bit more creative when naming this skill. But anyway, so this skill name is called Throw Spear. Yeah, it's just exactly what it means. Cost 2, cooldown 2, range 2, span single. Physical damage, attacks a single enemy dealing 1.5 times damage. Melee soldier also attack. This skill is not affected by melee penalties, so it's kind of like a flyer version of Air Slash. Next we have Wind Ride, cost 1, passive when entering battle with over 50% HP, all damage taken minus 15%. These are not new skills, but I'm just going to go over them in case someone watching is new to this game. Wind Whisper, cost 2, cooldown 2, range self, span 1 ring. So remember his talent that he only gets damage increase when he uses AoE. So that Throw Spear is probably not very good because it doesn't really, the talent doesn't apply to it. But Wind Whisper is an AoE attack, so this attack is an AoE attack. So physical damage deals 0.3 times damage to enemies within 1 ring and inflicts 1 random debuff on each target. He has better AoE attacks, so don't. Ram, cost 1, cooldown 2, range 1, span single. Physical damage attacks a single enemy dealing 1.2 times damage and causes displacement. displacement is pushes the target back 2 blocks, decreases mobility by 2, and disables guard. Lasts 1 turn. Attack Intimidate is a passive skill, costs 2. At the end of action, attack and in minus 15% to all enemy within 2 blocks. Lasts 1 turn. Okay, now this is a skill that's created for him. Dive Bomb, cost 2, cooldown 3, range 1, span single. Physical damage, attacks a single enemy dealing 1.4 times damage. If the enemy's movement type is not flying, then after ending action, deal 0.15 times AoE damage to enemies with 2 blocks of self. Okay, note that the second part says if the enemy's movement type is not flying, then after ending action, deal 0.15 times AoE damage. So if the opponent is in flying class, this will not trigger. So what the heck is flying type movement? Okay, we're gonna look at this image here. So Ashram is a flyer. Ashram plus Griffin Knight, they are both flyer. So now that's a flying class. If a flyer class hero, such as Ashram plus Heaven's Guard, that's a cavalry, then nope, they cannot fly. Ashram plus Holy Unit, they still cannot fly. So basically, if it is not paired up with a flying unit, then they are not considered as flying type. Next we have Detect, passive skill, critical rate plus 10% when dealing damage, 50% chance to disable enemies' passive skills. Last 2 turns, 100% chance to trigger when landing a critical hit. Emerald Blast, cost 2, cooldown 4, range self, span 2 rings. Physical damage, attacks enemies within 2 rings for 0.3 times AoE damage. If this skill defeats an enemy, then cooldown minus 2, and will also be used once more with minus 50% damage dealt. This effect can only occur once per turn. So when you kill someone, it's gonna do it again. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure this is the main 2 cost skill that you're gonna bring when it comes to PvP. PvE, debatable. But yeah, it's very... Okay, Vincent's Awakening skill, aka 3C. Awakening skill, Starfall Hurricane. Cost 3, cooldown 5, range 4, span single. There are 2 parts of it. So the passive part, prevent fatal damage once, restoring 50% HP. So he can die once. Well, he can die twice, I should say. Then activates the on-death effect of Wings of Destruction. So Wings of Destruction is his talent, which means he's going to deal 0.3 times AoE damage. This can only occur once per battle. Afterwards, this unit is inflicted with damage dealt minus 30%. Lasts 1 turn. Cannot be dispelled or immunized against. The damage dealt minus 30% is to balance him, to make him not too OP. Like after he dies, he's gonna kill like the whole team. But this is to prevent him from doing that. So I think Ceylon did a really good job balancing. Now the active part of this 3C. Active. Choose 1 target for a displacement effect. So this displacement effect is pulls this unit towards the target. So you go to your enemy. Note that this is not a movement skill. It's a teleport. I'll explain further. So when this unit stops, deals damage to enemies within 3 blocks for 0.3 times AoE damage, then deals an instance of fixed damage to self for 30% of max HP. After use, remove all debuffs on self and gain immunity for 1 turn. The displacement and fixed damage on self from this skill cannot be immunized or reduced. Pretty straightforward. So basically you teleport yourself to, I don't know, whoever you want to target, and get near them, then you deal an AoE damage that will also deal fixed damage to yourself, which is why you cannot really use Last Rite on Vincent, because you will never get that Last Rite effect unless you're not using 3C. And after you use your 3C, basically you gain Gospel, you are immune to like everything. That is it for the 3C, but however, there's one thing you really need to understand is that since this is a teleport skill, which means the talent where he moves does not apply to teleport. So for example, you move 5 blocks to get maximum AoE damage, that's his talent. But if you teleport 5 blocks, you will not get any movement because you only teleport it, you cannot move. But for example, if you moved, let's say 4 blocks, so 4 blocks times 6% at 6 stars would be 24%. And then when you teleport in, now your talent applies to your AoE. So make sure you know this for optimal damage. Okay, now recommended weapon. Scarlet Reaper is hands down the best for him. Especially if you can trigger 3 AoE in 1 turn. Like, these fixed damage are going to help a lot to eliminate your enemies. Ragnarok might be a waste on him because you probably never get to use the effect from Ragnarok. Well, you might. Maybe you'll do a single target attack. Who knows? Only if you have a lot of Ragnarok. Otherwise, I suggest that you should save it for other characters. You're really only there for that attack plus 10%. Peacemaker would probably be a better option than Ragnarok. Very common drop. And it also disables the passive, even though I don't think you have a chance to use the effect. But they both do give the same stats, so I would recommend using Peacemaker over Ragnarok if you don't have Scarlet Reaper. I don't really recommend Thrawn Guardian because it gives HP and you definitely want to die in the same turn for maximum damage. But if you can't die because of having too much HP, then Vincent becomes less scary. Okay, before I recommend any armor, I just gotta say it doesn't really matter when it comes to the armor because he wants to die, so you definitely don't really need to worry too much about the stats. So I think Monkey King is okay. So if they do try to attack you melee range, you will be able to get attack and crit increase. However, you have to know that when you get killed, your AoE, when you unleash your AoE after death, this effect will not apply to it. This would probably be like, oh, there's no last ride. Again, if you guys did watch earlier, a last ride does not apply to Vincent. The last ride effect, because before he uses 3C, he will self-damage himself and take 30% of his max HP. And last ride is very rare. You're probably better off saving it for another character. Anyway, so I think Demon Lizard skin might be Vincent's best armor because now he has the chance to apply a random debuff before he dies. Clock of Defiance, I think it's okay. I would prefer not bringing anything that adds defense or magic defense because you want to make sure he dies. I think HP doesn't help him survive that much, but the defense and magic defense would probably. But anyways, I think this one is not bad because before you get attacked, you'll deal a fixed damage to range attacks. So at least you're doing something before you die. That's pretty important. Helmet, we have King's Crown. King's Crown is always one of the best for flyers. I don't know how often you will be able to give buffs to your allies, but if you're not planning to go in the first turn, then I would say King's Crown is pretty useful. Doomsday Herald, I think, is probably his best helmet in PvP, because with the heal block, he can secure a kill much easier. And it shouldn't be hard to get into that 2 range debuff. Jormungandr's Eye, I don't know if this is really good because the debuff does make them weaker. Not sure if it will help him survive. I think it's good still because you can do something before you die. Recommended accessory, basically anything that increases attack is good. For PvP, I think Judge is probably the best because there's so many holy units and holy troops, and I think this will help secure your kill. Slayer Emblem, I think for PvE would be a little bit better, but it's not bad in PvP as well. It's just that I think current meta in Apex, there are less flyers, but they're still like Ares, so I would say it's pretty good. Wing Guard does give you the attack, but it also gives you the defense when you're attacked, so I'm not sure it will accidentally help Vincent survive. Regardless, it will give you the maximum attack percentage in an accessory. Okay, before I move on, I have to make sure you guys know this. I will assume majority of you guys do know about it, but in case you are a new player or you're someone who never knew about it, this is the perfect chance to tell you guys. Do not use any of these rings as accessory, even though they do increase attack, but they do not apply with AoE attacks. The effects only apply in battle. Enchant Choices, Full Moon is pretty much for PvE. I think it's really hard to use in PvP because of its 3C. Full Moon's effect doesn't proc unless your HP is above 80%, but do remember his 3C reduces 30% of his HP, so basically you will only have 70%. So this effect will never proc, but I think if you do use single attack or regular AoE attacks instead of 3C in PvE, then I think Full Moon will work. Even if you're planning to use him in World Arena, then Full Moon might not be the best choice. Breeze is always a solid choice, especially if it procs, you get that extra 10% damage. And if you plan to not go in the first turn, with Breeze proc, you're almost guaranteed to get that maximum movement. Magic Enchant gives you the most optimal AoE damage. I think in PvP, you should go with Magic. However, when it comes to PvE, it really depends how you want to play him. Do remember, the most he can do is 3 AoE in a row. I think Magic Enchant will make him really scary. Enchant stats. So this section is not new. I actually had it before and I somehow just forgot about it, and I didn't realize until someone told me about it. Let's first look at the gear enchant stats. So what you want is always attack over anything. So attack, HP, and defense. You can choose defense or magic defense, but it's up to you. For the accessory, you do want attack, critical rate, and then HP. And now we're going to look at the mastery stone status. Would be attack, HP over skill. When it comes to armor and helmet, it's up to you if you want defense or magic defense, because you only get 5 points of skill. So it's probably not that worth it, but for me, if I do play PvP, I'll go with the optimal damage. And last but not least, we have Arena PvP Stone. I would go with attack, critical chance, and critical damage, skill, and then HP. Honestly, if you want to make sure he dies, you can even save up your HP stone and not give him any HP enchant, but your power will not look as high if you do want to flex your guildmates. Okay, final section here, we have soldier choices. Hellhound is probably the best, however it does not make him fly, so that is a problem. But a Hellhound does give you the chance of increasing their damage taken plus 20%. The effect applies whenever you do an attack, so even if it's AoE, that will also work. Steel Wing Warrior. If you look at the skin, it's basically Vincent's face key on the Steel Wing, so it's like the same character. Steel Wing does give really good attack stats, but it kind of helped you survive against range attack. Nonetheless, I think these are pretty much it for his troops. There's not many good options. If you don't want to raise new troops and you do deal like a single target attack, then Steel Wing, you probably have them built already. Okay guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a better understanding of how to build and use Vincent. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.